So today we're going to look at some basic open and closed circuits. So remember, when you are building a basic circuit, you only have to have three objects. So you need a battery because that's your power source. You need a light bulb. Now, the light bulb doesn't have to be, it can be a buzzer or a motor or a fan. You just need something in that circuit that's going to take that electrical energy and convert it into another form that you can actually see. Because we cannot actually, in a real life circuit, we can't see the electrons flowing. So we rely on things like light bulbs and motors to tell us whether or not there's an electrical current flowing. So usually we use a light bulb, but like I said, you could use a fan or a buzzer, but you just need something to convert the electrical energy. Third, we need wires. So we need something to conduct that electrical energy. We need a conductor. Usually copper wires are what we use, but any kind of conductive materials, if you connect them in a circular path, would work. So we're going to use wires here. And I'm just going to build my circuit. But I'm not going to finish it because first I want to show you what an open circuit would look like. So here I have an open circuit. So as you can see, these little electrons are not flowing. There is a big gap in my path, and so my light bulb is not lighting. So this would be an open circuit. And again, in an open circuit, the electrons cannot flow. The buzzer would not make sound. The light bulb will not light. A fan would not turn. So for a circuit to work, it has to be closed up. So I'm going to pull one more wire, and I'm going to close up the circuit. So as soon as I touch these conductors together, as soon as I close that circuit, the light bulb lights. So I'm in really good shape now. I've got a closed circuit. My electrons can flow, and my light bulb can light. So that is a basic closed circuit. All right, so next I want to change it up a little bit. Okay, so another thing to look for when you're building a circuit is the way that your battery is connected. So as you can see here, it at first glance, it looks like I have a closed path. So it seems like the electrons should be flowing, but if you look at your battery carefully, and if you recall from the video from yesterday, the battery has to be included, the electrons have to flow through that battery. So you have to have both the positive and the negative side of the battery included in the circuit. So if I fix that in this circuit and I put my battery in so that both sides are connected, now I have a closed circuit again. I have electrons flowing good through my battery, and I've got my light bulb lit up. So you always want to check your batteries if your circuit is not working correctly, or if you're looking at a picture of a circuit, you always want to look to the battery first. Because if your battery is not connected correctly, you're not going to get anywhere. So something else to keep in mind with the batteries. Okay, so again, I have a basic circuit here. I'm looking at it. It's a closed path, but yet my light bulb is not lighting. So again, you always want to start by checking your batteries in a circuit, or when you're looking at a picture of a circuit, you always want to check your batteries. So here I've added 2 batteries because that's going to give me more power and make my light bulb burn brighter. However, look at the way that I connected them. Remember, your batteries have to be connected with the opposite ends touching. So you have to have positive to negative, positive to negative. Here, I attach the positive side to the positive side. And that's why, even though it's a closed path, even though there are no gaps in my circuit, I'm actually creating a gap here because I'm working against the flow of electrons by putting the batteries positive to positive. So if I take my battery and I flip it, now my circuit will work. So now I have positive to negative, and if I was to do a third battery, I would need to make sure to do positive to negative as well. So your batteries have to be lined up correctly. You cannot have a positive side touching a positive side. So always check that. So now I have another closed circuit here. All right, now remember, you do not need a switch in your circuit. It's not a basic part. It's not something that we have to have, but we often like to add them to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to add in this switch. I'm going to add in this switch, and 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 and then see what I've got. So my electrons didn't start flowing, even though my batteries are correct. It's because I have a little gap here. So where I put my switch, I have a little gap. And switches are really useful for turning lights off and on because they can easily be opened to create a gap or a break in the electric flow, or they can be closed. And then I can very quickly, without having to get a bunch of extra wires, I can quickly close my path by closing the switch. So an open switch is going to be an open circuit because it's creating that gap right there. Okay, if I close the switch, there's no more gap and the electrons can flow. Think of a circuit almost like a racetrack where your car is the electron and you're trying to get from the negative side of the battery all the way around the racetrack through the light bulb and back again. Okay, and if you're in a race car and the circuit is the road, then you can't continue driving when there's big gaps in the road. You need a bridge. So always think if you're in the race car trying to get around the racetrack has to be closed off. Otherwise, your car can't drive and the electrons can't flow. So remember when you have switches, and sometimes you'll have more than one. So sometimes you might have more than one switch. So all switches need to be closed that are attached to that light bulb. So if this switch is open and this switch is open, I have two gaps, but closing one is not enough. So I closed this gap, but I still have a gap up here. I have to close both switches. So if you have any open switches, you have an open circuit and the light bulb will not light. So again, remember, closed circuit lights your bulb. Open circuit turns the bulb off. Okay, this circuit is a little more complex. I've added two light bulbs here. So we're still going to keep in mind that we're looking for open and closed. That's all we're going to stick with for now, is just open versus closed circuits. So as you can see, my light bulbs are not lit. And remember, that tells me that if my light bulbs are not lit, that tells me my circuit is open. And as you can see, I have gaps here and I have a gap here because I have an open switch. So I need to close the gaps if I want my light bulbs to light. Now, the way that this circuit is set up is special because both of my light bulbs can do different things. So if I close the gap here, then this light bulb will light up because I've allowed this light bulb to become part of a closed circuit now. Okay, this light bulb, if you trace the circuit for this light bulb all the way around, it still has a gap. So there's still a big gap in this one. So this light bulb here is still part of an open circuit. But I've closed up the circuit for this light bulb, and that's why that one is able to light. So I need to close up the circuit for this bulb. Okay, and now I have two closed circuits and two light bulbs that are lit up.